This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We are live in Abuja. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. Our starting point is diplomatic relations as Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is leaving Abuja today on a short visit to Arusha, Tanzania, where he will be received by his Tanzanian counterpart. A statement by Laolu Akonde, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity in the Office of the Vice President, indicates that while in Arusha, Vice President Osinbajo would visit the African Court of Justice and Human Rights, as well as the African Union Agency in Arusha, among other engagements, before he returns to Abuja on Monday. And as delegates to the 64th UNWTO Commission for Africa, syndicates work to come up with a common position that will strengthen tourism and investment in Africa, voices of African ministers are echoing loudly for the developed world to give value to the continent. Anthony Forson completes the report.
Since Nigeria's Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed arrived Sal Island in Cape Verde, it has been one meeting after another. On the agenda is how to carry the continent along given the devastating effect of COVID-19 pandemic on tourism around the world. And so, it has been resolved that three key issues will be marshaled to protect the continent in growing the sector.
In particular, the issue of vaccine. It was the consensus of all the African ministers present at this meeting that we need to speak with one voice and let the world know that they are being unfair to Africa, especially in the area of vaccine. That while other parts of the world, especially Europe and US, are even thinking of a third, vaccine, a booster vaccine, most countries in Africa are yet to attain 5%, vaccination of their population. So we also resolved that the issue of connectivity must be addressed within the African context, that we must work towards making it possible, for connectivity to be easy within the African continent. Another issue that was discussed is the issue of travel advisories. We believe that these travel advisories must be reconsidered in the sense that when there's a small issue in Africa, this developed world will issue a travel advisory, and when there's a even much bigger issue in Europe or in America, nobody bothers to issue a travel advisory. That we want to address the issue of travel advisory to be used cautiously, and you must really understand, the peculiarities before you just issue a travel advisory. Most times, travel advisories are issued and they exaggerate the problems more than they really are.
On the sidelines, Lai Mohammed met with the Secretary General of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, Zurab Pololikashvili.
Nigeria is going to hold the next regional conference, and the theme is actually on tourism and the creative industry. And this meeting afforded me the opportunity to explain the strong points of Nigeria in the area of music, fashion, film, and the creative industry generally.
In the coming days, the way forward for tourism development in Africa is set to be in the front burner at the 64th UNWTO Commission for Africa. From Sal Island in Cape Verde, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And back home, as an evaluation process for targeted developmental projects by every nation, The Nigerian 2022 to 2024 medium-term expenditure framework is formulated towards ensuring proper management of the competing policy priorities. Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, while presenting the MTEF before the Joint Senate Committee hearing, said some key parameters are reviewed in line with the present realities. Over now to National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu.
Key issues contained in the medium expenditure framework centered on economic challenges due to COVID-19 pandemic, pressure on the foreign exchange, and the revised medium-term expenditure framework.
Fiscal risks are somewhat elevated for Nigeria due to persistent weaknesses in the economy and slower than expected recovery, which threatens our ambitious revenue growth targets. Non-oil revenue performance has been impressive and heading in the right direction.
There's an ongoing process that is engaging organized level, civil society organization, and very many other institutions of government to arrive at a landing on how and when we can exit the subsidy regime, to be very precise.
Looking far to the future, the issue of import should not be the basis of our revenue collection.
The BDC segment actually does about 6% of FX transactions in the country, whereas the NFX market settles over 90%.
The need to bridge the gap experienced in the 2021 projected crude oil revenue, improve revenue generation of Nigeria Customs Service, and block all revenue leakages for more developmental projects were brought up by the senators.
I am confident that our expertise and experience shall suffice in helping us arrive at a salutary conclusion.
The need for government priorities to have standard time for implementation was also mentioned by the senators. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
The federal government is planning to float another pool of funds that will facilitate the provision of affordable housing to Nigerians. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, said this during an inspection of some completed and ongoing housing projects in Abuja. Abdullahi Mohammed completes the report.
Sprawls of housing projects in different locations, tastes and sizes.
The story is that these housing challenges are being tackled.
These are some end products of the federal government's drive to meet the housing needs across the country through direct intervention and private-public partnerships. Proud of the outcome of the Buhari-led administration's housing policies and a renewed drive for accelerated results, the Minister of Works and Housing during this tour let another cat out of the bag.
It's in going back to do the backroom work about possibly how to create a national housing bond the housing developers can access at very reasonable rates. But that's something I'll be engaging my colleague, the Minister of Finance, and also who is in charge of fiscal policy, and hopefully she'll be able to also engage this Governor of Central Bank, who controls our monetary policy.
This development, private sector housing developers say, is the icing on the cake as far as the provision of affordable housing is concerned.
It is the business of private developers to provide houses to the citizens of a country. The government role is to provide an enabling environment for the private sector to strive.
For many of those who were quick to sow their seeds into the various housing programs, it's harvest time. In Abuja, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Thanks, Abdullahi. And the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekon Adegbite, has flagged off the commencement of airborne geospatial information gathering system to discover more solid mineral resources. 2 aircraft have been commissioned for this purpose to be active in 19 states in the northwest and eastern parts of the country.
The rest of the aircraft is equipped with electronic sensors, which will pick up variations in particularly magnetic changes and radiometric changes in the ground. Processing the data, we can try to interpret what the geological structures are in the ground. And it's from those structures that we can tell where the likely mineralization may occur, which will then involve further detailed study.
Part of the World Bank program that is headquartered in the main diver in the ministry. That's for somebody who can picture it's about 15-story building. So from the ground you see the aircraft, you hear the noise and all that. And so when these aircraft are flying at low altitude, and because of their peculiar color, the yellow, people will not panic because they come very close to the ground. So basically they are there to gather data, and of course this data will enhance our ability to know what minerals that we have and thereby attract the right investors into the sector.
Aircrafts are expected to be deployed to regions with deposits of such economic potential. And it's time to join Hingino in our Lagos Network Center for more reports. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you, Hawa. In continuation of its anti-smuggling drive channeled towards the protection of endangered species, the Customs Strike Force Team Zone A has intercepted more than 12,000 pieces of donkey hide and skins billed for export. While showcasing the seizure, the service says it is adopting technology in keeping tab on suspicious containers. Kende Adebisi reports.
Not done with beaming its searchlight on trading and exporting of wildlife, the customs this time caught up with these 2 40-feet containers on the verge of being exported. The contents are 12,500 pieces of raw donkey skins, carefully arranged in order of 10 per sack. The worry here is not just due to the fact that the item is on the export prohibition list, but has a lot to do with the protection of endangered species.
Each of these bags you see contains 10 pieces of donkey skin. You and I know very well that donkey is not edible, but they are forcing Nigerians to buy this meat in disguise. So if we allow this thing to continue, we will wake up one day, all these endangered species will disappear.
At a location not too far from where one of the container-laden donkey skin was seized, a warehouse was discovered stockpiling charcoals for export. The quantity is equivalent to 6 40-foot containers. The customs says it has received a presentation insisting that they are not for export but for domestic use.
If the charcoal had been picked at Iseyi, then we say that one is premature. What they were about doing is to load and move to bonnet terminals for exportation.
Other items intercepted include 5 20-feet containers of unprocessed woods, 229 sacks of shoes, and 1,372 bags of foreign rice. These feats, the Customs Strike Force Team Zone A says were achieved within 6 weeks. In Lagos, Kende Adebisi, NTA News.
More than 1,000 indigent women have benefited from the federal government's Conditional Cash Transfer Program, which has recommenced in Badagry Division of the state. Musa Toliat reports that the Household Uplifting Program is organized by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in Lagos.
38-year-old Justina is one of the beneficiaries of the Household Uplifting Program designed to benefit poor and vulnerable households with a monthly stipend of 5,000 naira. For this petty trader, the recommencement of the conditional cash transfer is a good news and a viable economic intervention for a large family.
It will be a very great help for we to be able to start up a little business that we can be able to sustain the family. We are 7 in number, so I believe the money will go. If not much,
I go use and just market, so my market will come plenty. I will tell government, say, government, thank you.
Minister of Nigerian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, who was represented, approved the payment of 4 months arrears to the beneficiaries with an assurance to pay up to date the conditional cash transfer by the end of September this year.
There's a national social protection policy. There is also a roadmap towards institutionalizing the program. So we continue on this basis, and our major focus is to ensure that the poorest of the poor are lifted out of poverty in line with the President Muhammadu Buhari's vision of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
It's just not about collecting 5,000 every month. It's about finding your hand to do something, doing well in what you're doing, and being compensated the more, so that you are actually considered as people that are above the poverty line.
So they are to form groups, and the group will now transfer to cooperative, and from the cooperative they now gather the money and open their bank accounts where they save the money, and now they can now do the routine of learning from the money to improve their livelihood.
The conditional cash transfer has been extended to additional 6 local governments in Lagos State to prevent vulnerable households from falling further down the poverty line. In Lagos, Musa Tolian, NTA News.
You're still watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. Let's take a short break. The news continues with Amina in Kaduna shortly. Stay with us.
Welcome to Kaduna. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has called for leadership, mentorship, and inclusion of Nigerian youths in governance to enable them participate in key decision-making for continuity when they take over the mantle of leadership in future. President of the Senate was speaking in Kaduna while interacting with youths from different parts of the country who are undergoing leadership training under the Sir Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship Program of the state government. Mahmoud Umar Ajingi tells us more.
Speak to you from different states of the Federation they are to receive training on leadership and good governance.
Thank you very much again.
This is the 4th cohort under the Sir Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship Program.
We have given many young persons appointments and challenging responsibilities. This interest in young people informed our decision to initiate the Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship, a program conceived to help widen the pool of young persons whose leadership ability we can help develop and nurture.
You need to have a deliberate policy of creating and sustaining leadership at all levels in this country, so that what we do at the local level complements what we do at the state level, and from there culminating at the apex.
The Senate President lauds the Sir Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship Initiative, drawing participants from different parts of the country as it demonstrates true spirit of national unity and integration. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Marajingi, NTA News.
The 60-40 female-to-male ratio sharing formula on empowerment initiated by the Kano State government has been identified as a clear tool for livelihood enhancement. Wife of the state governor, Professor Hafsat Abdullahi Ganduje, says the initiative will complement the federal government's effort to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. Yohannes Hassan-Barrow has details.
These are among the 1,200 indigents of Gwale local government area who benefited from the Kano Empowerment Program. Each beneficiary received 10,000 naira to boost their existing businesses. To complement this effort, the wife of Kano State Chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Zainab Abdullahi Abbas, also donated 100 sewing machines in addition to the donation of 2 million naira by member representing Gwale, Abdullahi Lawankenkyang.
Thank God that they are forming a kind of associations and they open bank accounts so that whatever they make, they dedicate certain amount of money to that bank account. And they look at a particular period, maybe after 3 months. They check and see what they are able to make up. And then they come up with some other women in their locality and train them in a similar perspective.
During her visit to Gwale local government, Professor Hafsat Abdullahi Ganduje also inaugurated a well-equipped primary health care facility. The more than 50 beds health care facility is expected to work 24 hours to reduce congestion in secondary and tertiary health institutions. In Kano, Yohannes Hassan-Barrow, NTA News.
And that's it from here. It's back to Hawa in Abuja.
Very well, thank you. And back here in Abuja, federal and state governments have expressed overwhelming support for an initiative by the AFDB to create special agro-industrial processing zones through public-private partnerships. The program, aimed at developing priority value chain through developing infrastructure in rural areas, will focus on furnishing and transforming raw materials and commodities. Justin Bem Unyi completes the report.
At a high-level briefing session, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, who hosted the meeting, reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to put in place enabling policies and incentives to attract private sector investment in the zones to ensure successful implementation. Participants, which include representatives of the African Development Bank Group, the International Fund for Agricultural Development (IFAD), and the Islamic Development Bank, provided progress updates on the scheme following their consultations with key stakeholders within the public and private sectors. The AFDB confirmed that it is in collaboration with other development partners mobilizing $520 million to co-finance the first phase of the program in Nigeria and implementation in phases across the 6 geopolitical zones. Director General of the African Development Bank's Nigeria Country Department, Lamin Barrow, said the zones would be rolled out in 18 African countries, including Nigeria. The Nigeria Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone program consists of 4 mutually reinforcing components: infrastructure development and agro-industrial hubs management, agriculture productivity and production, policy and institutional development, and program coordination and management. The federal government confirmed that all 36 states in Nigeria and the Federal Capital Territory would be eligible to participate in the SAPS program. In addition to the Federal Capital Territory and 7 states, Kaduna, Kano, Kwara, Imo, Cross River, Ogun, and Oyo participating in Phase 1, several other states have indicated interest in the SAPS program. These include Bauchi, Lagos, Niger, Jigawa, Ekiti, Lagos, Taraba, Benue, Sokoto, Ondo, Nasarawa, Gombe, and Kogi. Special Agro-Industrial Processing is a flagship initiative of the African Development Bank's Feed Africa strategic priority that aims at providing end-to-end solutions and services that de-risk production, processing, and marketing operations of private sector actors as they boost manufacturing and transformation capacity in production areas. Justin Bem Unyi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, beneficiaries of federal government conditional cash transfer in Imo State have commended the federal government for recommencing payment of the backlog of last year's stipends. They made their views known at the flag-off of the payment in Okigwe. The report.
The recommencement of payment of stipends to beneficiaries of the federal government cash transfer is in fulfillment of the promise made by President Muhammadu Buhari. Celine Adakieze, who is into Okpa business, a local delicacy, and Ngozi Arisuku, a stockfish seller, could not hide their joy as they narrate how the fund will boost their businesses.
My business go rise. Even if I know they carry 1 bag before, I go they carry 2 bags. And before 1 week, I go sell the 2 bags finish.
I dey happy they give me. This money they give me. I go take and put for my business. Let my business do grow fine.
Monitoring and Evaluation Officer, National Cash Transfer Abuja, Mabel Onyekachi, says the first batch of payment will clear backlogs of 4 months from last year, while the Special Advisor to the Imo State Governor on SDGs and Humanitarian Services, Christina Ude, says she's optimistic that the 27 local government areas of Imo State will be covered by October 2021.
Since this transition, we've been having a little challenge. So since then, we've not paid our beneficiaries. That's why we are paying them backlog of what they have not received for September, October, November, December.
His Excellency Senator Hope Uzodinma is very passionate about this program, and he provides everything that we need to make sure that this program runs.
905 beneficiaries from Isi-Alambano local government area of Imo State received 20,000 naira each as backlogs from last year's federal government national cash transfer. In Okigwe, Bright Ebuju, NTA News.
And Nigeria's Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu has been appointed Assistant Director General of the World Health Organization in charge of health emergency intelligence with effect from November 1, 2021. A statement issued by the WHO Director General indicates that the Director General of the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, will lead the work on strengthening pandemic and epidemic intelligence globally, including heading the WHO Hub for Pandemic and Epidemic Intelligence in Berlin. Ihekweazu is to assume duty on November 1, 2021. Trained as an infectious disease epidemiologist, he has over 20 years of experience working in senior public health and leadership positions in several national public health institutes in Nigeria and overseas. The Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation is reinvigorating the enterprising spirit among northern graduates to mitigate the impacts of the highly saturated labor market. This was at the 2021 Sir Ahmadu Bello Scholars Mentorship Forum, aimed at providing credible alternative for livelihood. Usman Abubakar Akwanga completes the report.
The benevolence of a great man who mentored many and had unquenchable taste for agriculture as the oil well of the northern Nigeria is resonating in these young entrepreneurs. After developing their mental capacity in different fields of science education, the foundation is stimulating enterprising spirit to assist them diversify income and grow the economy.
Keep these two facts at the back of your mind: hard work and good conduct.
What that we have been doing in the last 3 days is to ensure that we shape your own thinking along the line of becoming the best.
The restiveness that we want for them as youths to put into productive use for the betterment of you and I, everybody in the country.
In an interaction with the graduates, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says emerging technological innovations are breeding cyber syndicates and destroying economic fortunes of many countries and pushing for a better option.
Gathering intelligence in fighting cybercrime is a huge challenge because you have to have people to trust you. Many a times people bring in this intelligence have doubts as to their own safety. So know that whenever you give us information, your confidentiality is 100% guaranteed.
The Mentorship Forum for Scholars of Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation is grooming prospective leaders to take charge of increasing opportunities and champion a deliberate change for economic prosperity and enhance security of the land. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
And I will now hand you over to Susan in our Makudi Network Center for more reports on Nationwide.
Thank you, Hawa, and welcome to Makudi. Turnout for the second phase of COVID-19 vaccination, which commenced in Benue State last week, has been relatively impressive. Blessing Omeche Ibute reports that the exercise, which is taking place in all the 23 local government areas of the state and the tertiary health care facilities in Makudi, the state capital, is meant to immunize over 100,000 residents.
Following the receipt of over 100,000 doses of the Moderna vaccines from the federal government, the Benue State government swung into action by organizing a training program for more vaccinators ahead of the flag-off exercise. The Benue State University Teaching Hospital Makudi, the Federal Medical Center, and the Makudi Local Government Secretariat are the designated centers for the COVID-19 vaccination for those residents in the state capital.
What essentially does the vaccine do to an individual who has taken it? It will limit the seriousness of the case, even if you are going to contract the illness.
State facilitators of the exercise have commended the turnout of residents for the second phase, which they described as an improvement from the first phase.
Before now, they were like, I will not take it. If people taking it, they will die in the next 2 weeks. But since they have seen no deaths have been recorded concerning this vaccine, at least everybody is coming out and they are eager to take it even more than expected. Sir.
I would like everybody to come for the injection because it is important. It is for our own health, our own good.
Executive Secretary, Benue State Primary Healthcare Board, Dr. Ben Ageda says the vaccination is open to persons of all categories who are 18 years and above.
For Oxford, AstraZeneca, we are giving only second dose to the people that had their first dose. So don't come and take Oxford AstraZeneca as first dose for now.
The vaccination exercise, which is in its first week, is to be carried out within 20 days. In Makudi, Blessing Omeche Ebute, NTA News.
The Benue State government has pledged to partner the United Nations Volunteers Program Nigeria to give direction and empower youths in the state. Governor Samuel Otom made the pledge when he received the program coordinator, Victoria Obuwebi, at the Government House, Makudi. Charles Abba reports.
The coordinator, United Nations Volunteers Program Nigeria, Victoria Obuwebi, who said any nation that neglects the youths is planning to fail because they are the leaders of tomorrow. She indicated that the program is centered on giving young people the opportunity to explore avenues of building their skills and capacities to contribute their quota to the development of the society. She lauded the state government for its commitment to giving young people the needed direction and requested for partnership with the state government to effectively prosecute the cause.
Naturally, you want to find so many young people having opportunities based on their years of experience. I'm sure maybe one or two of you might have seen, some job advertisements looking at 10 years, 5 years experience. But with UN volunteers, you can have 1 year experience or no experience at all and come aboard the UN system to work as a volunteer.
Governor Samuel Otom, who emphasized the resilience and patriotism of Benue youth, said he would support programs and projects that would be of benefit to them.
What you are just saying there will be added to our program and plan to ensure that we give our youth a direction and empower them and also expose them to the outside world so that they can pick the opportunities that are there. So we commend this initiative.
He equally extolled the mature conduct of Benue youths during the past NSAS protests nationwide. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
And that's the size of our package from Makudi. Nationwide continues in Enugu with Chinenye after this commercial break.
Thank you so much for staying on and welcome to Enugu. The need for Nigerians to appreciate one another and coexist peacefully, irrespective of ethnic and religious affiliations, has been re-echoed at a conference in Enugu. The conference has as its theme, Christians interrogate the caste system in the Nigerian society and the Constitution. Defined as a framework for grouping people into classes, caste system is practiced mostly among the Igbos of the southeastern region, where a person is seen as a freeborn or an Osu, which means one irreversibly offered as a sacrifice to a deity or spirit. Convener of the conference, an apostolic nuncio to Trinidad, Tobago, and Antilles, noted that there is need for Christians and indeed all Nigerians to condemn all discriminatory and obnoxious attitudes against one another for the country to remain an indivisible nation.
It is because of the rampant presence of discrimination and prejudices among our people, in spite of the growth of the Christian faith among our people, Christian faith that is supposed to make us brothers and sisters in the love of Christ.
Other speakers at the conference, including the Apostolic Nuncio to Nigeria, Catholic archbishops, Catholic bishops of Enugu, Nsukka, and that of Sokoto Diocese, who joined via Zoom, advised Christians to return to the principles of Christianity.
A challenge for us as a church to offer a mirror of moral clarity, not because of perfection, but because we are children of imperfection.
It's unfortunate and especially very, very absurd that people also who regard themselves as Christians, that is, children of God, will regard some other children of God as not being freeborn.
Dwelling on the origin of Nsukka's system and the challenges it poses to the traditional institutions, the Obi of Onitsha said, according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity, hence the need to abolish Nsukka's system entirely.
Consequences are there, human rights consequences, civil, social, economic rights, post-political rights. Some of them, some communities cannot even stand for election.
Some participants at the conference, including King Jaja of Opobo, His Royal Majesty Danderson Douglas Jaja Jeki V, and former President General Ohaneze Ndibo John Nyanwodo, suggested that there should be a change in attitude and reorientation of values amongst Nigerians. In Enugu, 6 persons narrowly escaped death while property worth millions of naira were destroyed in a building that collapsed at Nnewi in Anambra State. Mabufo Nwoye has details.
A middle-aged housewife, Mrs. Gladys Ojukwu, escaped death by whiskers when an adjoining building under construction collapsed on the kitchen part of her building while preparing breakfast. The husband, Mr. Clement, who expressed displeasure over the incident, says he has raised several alarms that the building under construction lacked approval plan, quality materials, and qualified site engineer.
They let the first decking, another decking again, have to go to court. I sued him. We challenged the competence of the engineer who is building a building or traversed on somebody's building. They continued doing what they were doing.
For the site workers, tragedy was averted as the workers were preparing to start the day's work shortly before the building collapsed. The chairman, Nigeria Society of Engineers, Anambra State, Mr. Odenaka Okonkwo, attributed the building collapse to use of substandard materials.
The primary cause of building collapse has to do.
And those are the stories from Enugu. We now rejoin Hawa in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Very well, Chineye. We are sorry for the brief blank from our Enugu Network Center. Security matters now. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, has asked journalists to dwell more on issues of national unity and shun reports that may incite violence. He gave the charge in Jos while addressing newsmen during his working visit to Plateau State. The report.
General Lucky Irabo says his visit to Plateau State is part of efforts by the military's high command in finding practical and sustainable solutions to the recurring unrests in parts of the state.
The military, we are part and parcel of the society. We came out from the society. We're only an instrument of value addition. We're an instrument of bringing solution to issues that have to do with violence around us.
Briefing journalists during his visit, the Chief of Defense Staff clarified reasons for merging the activities of the 3 Division and Operation Safe Haven under one commander.
And I felt that it was necessary for us to combine the resources available to the division with those available to Operation Safe Haven under a single leadership for it to be more effective. We have identified that that we need to do more with respect to early warning and early response mechanism.
While in Jos, General Irabo met with traditional rulers of the affected communities to condole with them and spelled out the role of citizens in peace building.
No matter little information we get, we should let your people on ground know.
The Chief of Defense Staff restated his commitment to ending the spate of killings. In Jos, Zen Reddingmoon, NTA News.
And the annual Chief of the Naval Staff Conference has opened in Kano, with key stakeholders from the security and maritime sector in attendance, with the theme, Enhancing Maritime Security for National Prosperity. Correspondent Najatu Tijani reports that the two-day conference holding at the Coronation Hall of the Kano Government House is expected to tackle complex security issues in the maritime sector while building the capacity of the naval staff as well as tapping the expertise of the retired naval officers and resource persons. The Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Zubairu Gambo, commended Governor Umar Ganduje for tackling insecurity in the state, pledging resources for the possible future establishment of naval units in Kano if approved. Vice Admiral Gambo also emphasized collaboration among stakeholders in the maritime sector, as well as interagency cooperation as central to ensuring a good working environment, critical to achieving the set goals of the Nigerian Navy along the armed forces of Nigeria. Other events expected to take place during the conference include paper presentations on the role of the Nigerian Navy in Nigeria's blue economy, Navy fleet maintenance, girl-child education for gender equality, as well as a means of enhancing national security, as well as roundtable discussions on implementation of naval strategies and policies. The Katsina State Police Command has apprehended suspects who allegedly supply petrol to bandits in their hideouts. They were paraded at the command's headquarters alongside some suspected informants and others arrested by the police for alleged various offenses. Awal Haliru completes the report.
Few days to the implementation of security containment order of reinforcing the ban on sale of petroleum products in jerry cans at filling stations and the immediate closure of some major roads linking the frontline local government areas of Katsina State, the police command succeeded in arresting kidnappers, informants and cattle rustlers.
We are on course to make sure that those of us that are here collaborating with bandits, taking supplies to them, especially fuel and other logistics, have been arrested and brought to book. They are here in our custody. You can see the fuel, the vehicle. The suspects are also 3 of them there. Not only with that 504, even with the Boxer motorcycles.
The police public relations officer SP Gamba Isa called on the general public to be providing useful information to security agencies to complement their efforts in cracking down all forms of crimes and criminalities in the state. He warned that the command will not take it lightly on anybody found violating the security challenges containment order signed by Governor Aminu Bello Masari to address insecurity. In Katsina, Awal Haliru, NTA News.
And we are not done with security matters, as the Zamfara state government has ordered special prayer sessions in all the 17 emirates across the state for divine intervention in the fight against resurgent banditry and the spate of kidnapping in the state. Governor Bello Muhammad was among hundreds of worshippers who observed the special prayers at the Gusau Central Mosque. Jamilu Ibrahim has more.
The conduct of special prayers in congregation is one of the latest moves by the Zamfara state government aimed at seeking for divine intervention in tackling the resurgent banditry and spread of kidnappings across the state. Governor Bello Muhammad, alongside some top government officials and the Emir of Gusau, Alhaji Ibrahim Bello, were among hundreds of Muslims that attended the special prayer session at the Gusau Central Mosque. The Islamic scholars who took turn to pray for the restoration of lasting peace in Zamfara state and the country as a whole also emphasized the need for people to sincerely repent from their sinful acts as a way out of the predicament.
We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to eradicate all kinds of criminals like kidnappers and killers and bandits from our state and northern area and Nigeria at large.
Governor Bello Muhammad says the special prayer session will be sustained.
And I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will answer these our prayers. We started here as an opening for each and every emirate, and alhamdulillah it has gone successfully.
The special prayers were observed simultaneously in all the 17 emirates across Zamfara state. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
To other matters now, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has called on authorities across the African continent to take the right policy actions towards actualizing the African Continental Free Trade Area which the Vice President notes offers limitless opportunities for the industrialization of Africa. Vice President Oshibajo stated that such actions include the protection of local industries and improving value chains. This was contained in a message delivered this Thursday at a roundtable on industrialization in Africa, themed Positioning African Industries for Economic Transformation and Continental Free Trade, organized by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria.
Industrial policy will benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Area. For certain, the free trade agreement itself is indispensable if industrial development is to take off in Africa, because it offers wider markets and economies of scale, which are essential for manufacturing to be competitive. So the crux of my message today is that we must take policy actions to create an environment in which business can thrive. To start with, we must adopt the right type of macroeconomic and industrial policies. It's important for African governments to provide a stable macroeconomic environment. I call on AU member states to ratify and implement the Protocol on Free Movement of Persons, Right of Residence, and Right of Establishment.
Vice President Oshibajo there on boosting industrialization in Africa. The need for in-house re-evaluation and moral teaching of judicial officers in the country is of utmost importance to ensure reduction in conflict court orders for a strong and credible judicial system in the country. This was reiterated while guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria discussed conflicting court orders and the implications for Nigeria's democracy. Butu Amila gives us the details.
The scourge of corruption has over time been described as one of the most discussed causes of underdevelopment in any nation. But much cause for concern is the weakness of the justice sector delivery system. Guest on Good Morning Nigeria noted that forum shopping, corruption, and political desperation has been identified as a major factor contributing to conflicting court orders in the judicial system.
People are not prosecuted. People are not held accountable. There's lack of accountability because if people are held accountable, whether lawyers, judges, or politicians, because sometimes you can follow this money, you can trace the money, how it's moved. But we are not serious about fighting corruption. We care about the optics without starting from the brass tacks, taking it from the proven cases, prosecute this person, get this evidence, make this evidence available to NJC.
So forum shopping, looking for the judge that can do your bidding, corruption, knowing that there is an attractive element within the judge, that will, and then the worst of it all, political desperation by persons who use resources of state to corrupt our judicial system. Okay. The truth about it is that no matter how stupid, sorry to say, a court order is, whether it's granted in Benin or in Potiskum or in Kafansha or in Oka, you as another judge of coordinate jurisdiction, you are deemed by law to be aware, and you cannot in any way intervene in that matter.
Guest also noted that moral teaching for judicial officers has a key role to play in ensuring the development of the judicial sector.
You see, the issue of how to really insulate the judiciary from these things lies more in moral teachings rather than technical or application of the law.
They, however, urged for an improved and strengthened justice system, stating that the court still remains the last hope for the common man in the country. In Abuja, Butu Miller, NTA News.
And sports is next.
Team Nigeria's medal haul at the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games increased to 8 after Njideka Iheazi clinched the bronze medal in the women's shot put final on Thursday. Iheazi had a throw of 10.40 meters in the F57 class to finish on the podium, earning Nigeria's first medal of the athletics event at the Games. In football, three-time African champion Super Eagles of Nigeria are set to welcome the Lone Stars of Liberia to the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos for a 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifier on Friday, with the hosts looking to get back to winning ways, having played out a goalless draw with Cameroon in an international friendly in June. Friday's clash will be the 15th meeting between the two sides, as Nigeria have an overwhelming better record in previous matches played.
I don't see them posing a lot of challenge to the Super Eagles.
The match will be live on the NTA at 5 p.m., while studio opens at 4:30 p.m. Former Super Eagles winger Finidi George is now the new coach of Enyimba International Football Club of Aba, replacing Fatai Osho, whose contract was not renewed. Finidi George played at the 1994 and 1998 World Cups. Meanwhile, participating teams for the 3rd Flying Officers Cup in Abuja have increased from 8 to 16, as more women club sides sign up for the tournament.
We want to showcase the best of Nigeria, and that is why this season we are also producing our trophy not from China, not from Belgium, but from Nigeria.
The championship is in honor of the late Tolulope Arotile, Nigeria's first female combat pilot, who died last year. With sports update, Tamara Ebiwe, NTA News.
And that's Nationwide today. We thank you for watching, but be our partner here at the NTA as we fight against rape and rapists. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. Good evening.